My name is.
No.
My sign is.
No.
My number is.
No.
You need to let it go. You need to let it go. You need to let it go. Nah, tell her, no, no, no.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of On to the Next. I always do the clap. It's like become a thing now.
It is a thing. If you haven't guessed already, today's episode we are talking all about No by Meghan Trainor.
No, rejections and all things to do with no. And this was actually requested by one of our listeners, wasn't
Friend
it?
of the podcast, Chloe Ballantyne.
Yes, shout out.
It's a very big topic and it's something that we have to deal with on like a daily basis, and it's quite pressing. So we're just gonna answer some questions and talk about our experience, and it's a bit more of a serious topic this week, I suppose.
A bit away from theme parks.
We've had a lot of fun, silly episodes.
I know. I've come back from Disneyland Paris now, and you know, like, the magic's over.
The magic's over.
The magic has died, and it's all about the nitty-gritty and the nose.
Yeah, we're back into the hustle of life.
Hustle and bustle.
So,
well, let's talk about the reality of auditioning then. Because majority of the time, you go to all these auditions, don't you? And then, majority of the time, you get told no. Or sometimes you don't even get told no.
Yeah.
And
I feel like it's a bit of a cliche, it's a bit of a stereotype of like actors face rejection all the time, but it really is the reality of like majority of time as an actor is like spent unemployed and getting rejected from everything. It's just a bit crazy.
Absolutely, and I feel as well like you'll have like an audition through from your agent, or you'll see like an open or whatever. And when you go to these auditions, you really set up yourself thinking, right, I'm going to get it, and I'm going, like, here are the list of dates that you need to be available if you get the job. Like, you really think about it in advance, like, of your life. Like, yes, if I get this job, then I'll have to be around from this time to this time. And you really have to sort of plan your whole life and gear yourself up to do it as if you're going to get this job, which I feel like you would maybe do with any job. Like, you just, if you go to it, you expect that you want to get it. That's the point of going. And you really map out your life in your head ahead of you. But then you're just like told no or rejected like immediately, and then it's like done, and then you're like, oh, all those life plans that I had in the future have just been stripped from you.
I know, it's like impossible. And like my thing is, you have to like put enough investment into the audition. Like you have to obviously care about it and put your heart and soul, and you have to, even to like do something successfully, you can't go into something being like, I'm going to get rejected from this, because then that's a self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it? So you have to adjust your mindset so that it's like, I'm looking at this positively, and I've got to act as if I've already got the job, and then it will come to me. So you have to put like part of yourself into it in that sense.
You have to have
in order to like to be in the right space to even like be in with a chance of getting it. But then it's such a fine line, because you can't put too much hope and energy into being like, I've booked this job already, because then when you get rejected from it, it's just going to be so much more
like
crushing.
Soul
so
destroying.
You have to like, it's a really tricky balance. Because if you go too far one way, if you just think, oh, I'm just going to walk up to this audition, like, I'll probably get rejected from it, and oh well, on to the next.
Yeah.
If you do that, then you're not gonna get anywhere, because you're just going into it with the mindset of, I'm gonna be told no anyway, so what's the point? But then if you go too far the other way, and you're like, I am fully picturing my life in this show. I'm so ready for this. I could do this. This would be where I live. This is my costumes. Like, I'm watching all these backstage videos of it. I'm so ready to be in this show, and you're like manifesting it, and then you get rejected from it. And then it's just like, that's been my life for the past week or 2 weeks or month, when I've been like getting ready for these auditions or going to recalls. So it's just like really difficult balance.
And I feel like it's always, it gets easier, I think, the more auditions that come your way. Like if you're constantly going to lots of auditions, Well, I don't know, it never gets easy really, does it? Because it's, even if it's not personal, you feel sometimes it can be. Because they're literally judging you on your ability, and
it's like your logic, the logical side of your brain understands and knows the process inside out, and I know on an intellectual level, on a logical level, that me getting rejected from this job after I've made it all the way to the finals is not a reflection on my talent or ability, otherwise I wouldn't have got that far. I wouldn't have booked jobs in the past, and I can understand that logically, but you have to put your emotion into it, and you have to be like vulnerable as a performer, otherwise you're just going to be like a robot and you're not going to be able to like tell an authentic story or give an authentic audition. But then you get rejected from it, and you're like trying to reason with your brain and be like, you know why that was.
And you have like lots of thoughts too, don't you? Because like anything that anyone ever does, they always want to try and give it their all and like give it their best. And if your mind, as you're saying, like is saying to you like, I've given my best, why did they not see that? Like I've tried so hard for this, and it's really hard to turn it off and be like, well, you know, there was someone else better. I mean, it's just part of the job, but it's a very difficult thing.
One of the most like mentally challenging parts of being a performer, and I think it's something that we don't necessarily focus on as much. We focus on it a lot. My job as a performer is performing, and it's when I'm booked, and it's when I'm working and I'm in employment. That's my job, that's me working, but it's not all of the auditioning and the like mental dexterity you have to have, and all of this like
dexterity.
All of that side of things is very much and actually probably your reality for more of the time than when you're employed. Like as performers,
I feel like it's actually harder sometimes, that bit of getting yourself to the place that you want to be. That is the real hard work,
and that's where we spend the most time.
I know.
We spend more time auditioning and training and doing all of that kind of thing than we do actually in the job.
Getting to do it,
But you kind of forget that this requires its own skill, doesn't it, to be able to handle rejection. And I find it a lot easier to get rejected from something when I've done a really bad job.
Yeah, same.
Then you're like, I can understand why I didn't get that job. Or if you go for something and you arrive and you're like, I am not right for this.
Yeah.
I can tell you for a fact, everyone here is 6 foot tall, really leggy, really flexy, ballet people.
Yeah.
I'm not that.
Yeah.
So that is fine. I will do my best. I'll still give it my all. But I know that. And
then if you don't get it, you can be like, well, it was quite obvious.
Yeah.
That's like me when we actually went to the same audition a few weeks ago, and I woke up and I couldn't speak. I was suffering from like the worst cold ever, to the point where like I actually was like, hello, I don't know, like I literally just sounded awful. And I even like contemplated not going, but then I was like, no, I'll just go, because like it's an opportunity, like you never know. But I turned up, tried to sing it a few times beforehand, but I was like, it's not going too great. I went in, I did the best I could, but you know, I couldn't really sing. And I left thinking, you know what, don't think I'm gonna get it.
But what was the audition? It was for Burn the Floor,
yeah.
And you had to like sing in Spanish.
Oh yeah, that was the other thing as well. I was so stressed because I had to learn Spanish. I've never spoken Spanish before. I didn't even learn it at school. I did French. So, and German.
I sang French in that audition.
Yes, and you had to sing the French, and you're actually a quarter Spanish.
Yeah.
and I had to sing 2 Spanish songs. Actually, no, one was like Spanish but English, but anyway. But so I had that stress as well, and it was just all a bit flustery, and I just couldn't really sing very well. Anyway, I left and I got told no like a week later, and I was like, you know what, it's fine. Like, I'm not surprised. I kind of wrote it off from the moment I even
Like, it's
before
all
I even
good
walked
experience, it's a good challenge, but
didn't
fine.
really care. But then when you go through things as well, like you have this a lot as well. You go through like rounds and rounds, and the more rounds you get through, you're like, oh my god, I've done it. I've got to the
then
next
you're
place.
investing more into it as
Yeah,
well, because you're like,
you've really got
oh,
your
I'm
hope up.
actually in with a chance now. It's not like I'm 1 out of 5,000.
Yeah, you just turned up.
You get all the way to the finals, and it's just literally a handful of people, and you're like, well, they need to cast a full ensemble. So the likelihood is
I'm gonna get
that
it.
I'll probably get it. So then you have to start planning your life and thinking ahead and being like, right, when do these rehearsals start? What am I doing? Where am I living? Where all of that kind of stuff. And then you just get told no, and you're like, well, I must have been right for it, because you wouldn't have recalled me so many times. I would not have made it that. And even my agent was like, at this point, it's not on your talent, because they wouldn't have recalled you through various singing rounds, multiple dance rounds, acting rounds. They've seen me do every single skill that's required for this. So,
and they haven't just like not invested their time. Like, they've been very invested as well. Like,
you like
to
meet
get you
them,
to that
you get
point.
to know the team at that point. They know my personality, they know what I'm like in the room.
They know you're on a, like, if they were C, they'd be like, oh, Amelia.
When you get all the way through these multiple rounds. So, and my agent was like, at that point, it's basically on height, it's on fitting you into the cast, like the jigsaw puzzle of it all. It's on, they might have gone in a different direction and hired someone who has more experience, more credits, that has a bigger social media presence now. Like, things like that is a big thing, because then they can use their platform and they can like boost more
people to come and
attention
watch
to the show. So there's so many things like that. That's like the other side of things. But as a performer, that gets super frustrating, because it's like, well, that's everything that's not in my control. I can't change my.
And you've worked so hard to get through those rounds and get to that point as well.
It's a bit like, why did you take me all the way then?
Yeah,
it's like, oh, well, actually, you're too.
It's
small.
like dangling a piece of cake on the top of the mountain, and you're like nearly at the top, and then like a bird comes and like swoops the cake from you, and you're like, oh, I was nearly there. Yeah. I don't know, that was such a weird analogy. It was like the mountain and the cake and the bird. Oh, should we make it into a children's story?
You should write that. You should write the mountain and the bird and the cake.
Julia Donaldson, here I come. Coming for
but
you.
but I feel like those ones really hurt, because that's like, oh my god, you invest more into it. You've spent more time learning songs and learning sides and really getting to know the job and the characters so well, that it's just like you can't like disassociate from it. Like, you're deep in that then, and you have to be in order to like get that far, and it's just super annoying. And those ones are just like very frustrating. Whereas, like you said, when you go and you mess it up, or you know that you're not right for that job, and you're like, I don't know why I've been put up for this, but I'll go give it. Like that panto thing I auditioned for back in the day, in when we graduated 2018, I go to a panto audition in a jazz outfit, being like I'm auditioning for like your villager ensemble dancer. So I'm in like a red Leo, a high pony, a red lip, my New Yorkers, and I was so ready to do like kicks from the corner and tech jazz. And then,
wasn't it like commercial grime?
It was literally, it was hip hop. What was that song at the time?
It wasn't Cheryl Cole, Crazy Stupid Love, was
no,
it?
No, that was Mamma Mia at that time. No, it was, I can't, it was like some TikTok hip-hop, TikTok hip-hop cool person song.
Swag.
I have a video of me trying to repeat the dance when I came back here. But it was like, whatever those Minecraft.
The hype. No, not Minecraft.
They're like Minecraft dances.
No, it's from something else. Fortnite.
Oh, Fortnite. Minecraft.
Those Minecraft dances.
Games. But
that's got to be in the subject header. Minecraft dances.
Dances. I don't know what the kids do, but it was one of those things, one of those moves that when I go and teach kids, they're all like flossing and they're doing whatever their cool moves
Fortnite.
are. they put them into this dance, and it was hip hop, and it was really cool. And I was in a red Leo and tights, and a New Yorker and a red lip and a high pony. I could not have looked more jazzy, and I was just totally out. And then we had to perform it in the room with everyone still in there, with people I know in that audition room, and we just had to go in and do the combination while everyone else was standing around watching. And I was like, firstly, number one, I don't even know the choreography. I didn't retain it. I couldn't pick it up because it was not my style at all. Number two, not only could I not remember it, the bits I could remember I couldn't do anyway. My body doesn't move that way.
Yeah.
Then they like called out my number, and I was genuinely 50-50 of, shall I go and do that and embarrass myself in front of everybody, including the audition panel, or should I just stay at the side and pretend that like I didn't hear or something? I did do it, but I sucked. And I got cut, obviously. But again, in that situation, I was like, fair enough, I'd have cut me too. That was not a bit of me, I wouldn't have even liked to be doing that.
That was like me in my Starlight Express audition. I was in like my jazzy, like tight-fitting outfit, like tight-fitting trousers, like really like pristine, and it was literally like breakdance. Like, that wasn't even Take That one as well, but like in my I had an audition for The Greatest Days, Take That the musical, and I actually made it through. Like, I can't tell you how. I made it through this round. Starlight cut. That was like, no.
Wasn't that the one that Chloe Ballantyne, didn't she do that?
Maybe, I don't know.
I feel like it was Chloe or was someone from Conti
yeah,
that Starlight one, and
did.
it was really
but it was like separated boys and girls. Like, I was just in the one for boys, but it was that was just a lot, and there was people like backflipping, and I was like, ooh,
this is not me.
No, I was like, where's that singer movement called?
Where's that little like hip roll?
Particle array, hip roll. And this one for the Take That musical, I made it through, but that was literally like 90s hip hop,
on the floor.
like on the floor doing that thing where your leg goes around like a helicopter thing, and then it was like knee slides and spins and like b-boy stuff like on your head, like.
So in that situation, if you'd have got a no, fine.
Fair enough.
Do you know what? Yes. In those, and we're very self-aware as performers.
Yeah.
We're so self-aware. We're so self-critical that I will be the first to tell you when I have done a really awful audition.
Yeah.
I will be the first one to take my bag and exit out of that room. Again, like that disco one that I did.
Yeah.
I did some disco audition, and it was very spur of the moment, and I wasn't really that prepared for it, but I didn't really want it that much anyway. But I sang Last Chance, Last Dance for Love, and then Tonight, that bit. And I thought it had the key change in it, so I was ready to do this key change, but it didn't key change, but I did, and the piano was just like in the original key, and it just went really, really off, and it was really bad. Also, leading up to that, I'd been pulled over by the police because I was trying to follow my Google Maps of where to go, and apparently I was hogging the middle lane. So this really weird police guy pulled me over. He was like yelling at me, and I was really stressed out, and I was like, now I'm going to be late, and I don't even want to go to this, and I was really stressed and frantic and having an awful day. And then I turned up to this audition in the nick of time. I didn't even want to be there. I didn't know what was going on with my sheet music. It was awful, and I was like, pick up my folder, and I was like, thank you for your time, I will show myself the door. I know I have not booked that, there's no way. And then I leave, but also this was extra annoying because I was the last one of the day.
No.
So and then after my time slot was the dance recalls. So as I was packing up and leaving, everyone who'd been recalled was waiting there and getting their dance shoes on and getting ready to go while I was there as well. And they were all like, oh, so you'd like dancing as well? And I was like, no. And then it was just so embarrassing. I was like literally packing up my folder, chatting to all these people, being like, okay, we'll have a good dance, cool guys, I'm off. Like, it was so humiliating.
And we were saying this as well, weren't we, earlier, like, when you get cut from an audition, like, you just want to leave and just, like, get out of that environment because you're like, oh, I just don't want to be here anymore. But then you're, like, trying to cram your, like, sheet music, like, fold it into the bag. Like,
chaotically holding, like, 100 things in your hand. Yeah, your
The
sheet
water
music's
bottle,
all
like-
crumpled. My giant water bottle's falling everywhere. I've got, like, dance shoes in my hand, my nebulizer, like, 1,000 things in my hand. It's just so embarrassing
and, like,
when you're like, I
changing
got it,
clothes,
dash.
you're, like, you have all of your, like, dance clothes
Ready
ready
to
to go.
go.
You're like, I want to need that anyway.
Not to
Like,
touch that. Or when they've told you to bring your whole rep or bring your book with you, even though they've given you audition songs, you sing 2 bars of their audition song and they're like, thank you, and you've just got all this
It's
stuff
like
with you that
massive
you've never even
fold.
touched, and you got to dash, you've got to get out of there ASAP.
yeah, and you're like clambering out of like Pineapple or Dance Attic or wherever you are, and you're just like,
Just literally
with all the things.
and
Winter is the worst as well because you'll have like
you've got
7
scarves,
coats.
coats. I always have a scarf on if I'm doing a singing audition, and you're just scampering away, stuff's falling out, your shoes aren't undone, and because it's like everyone else is either there waiting to go in for the next round or arriving like ready to do their thing, and it's obvious that you've just got cut, and I'm like, this is super embarrassing. It shouldn't be
Even
embarrassing.
though no one cares.
Yeah, no one actually cares.
But in your head,
I
you're like, oh
find
my
it
god, I just don't want to be
embarrassing.
here anymore, I want to leave.
I don't want to sit in this after I've just been cut. So then you just gotta like dash out and you'll just run to like
Yeah.
the closest street corner that's far enough away from the audition site that you've got a bit of distance, so then you can settle everything, put my AirPods in, get myself ready for my journey home.
Yeah, you like finally get everything in the bag and then you're like,
Now I can just
okay, now I walk.
now I can put on
Where's
my
the spare tube
playlist
station?
and strut away, or put on some inspiring podcast like on to the next. Do you know what? I actually did that.
Did you?
On
You put on to the
Monday.
next.
On Monday I went to an audition and I got cut, and then I hadn't listened to the episode we just released that day, and I was like, oh, I'll give it a listen, make sure it sounds okay. And I had literally just been cut from this audition and just put me and you in our headphones talking on this podcast. I was like walking to the station like, I'm just listening to my friend.
Yeah, on to the next.
Funny. But that's definitely a big one, isn't it? I just don't want to be hanging
I know.
around that space.
And that's, well, you should always be careful with this as well because you never know who's around or on the same train, but always as well, then I normally message you actually to be like, I'll send you a voice note.
It's always the voice notes.
Yeah, and it's like, you can literally hear like the tubes and like the buses in the back like,
Wind, I'm like
Yeah,
walking across London
and then
Bridge.
it's like, oh sorry, 1 second, just crossing the road. Beep, 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 beep.
How many times have we done that? Literally.
That was like me when I exited the Mikado audition. Like, I was so shocked I even got a recall because I had to do a self-tape for it first. And this was the beginning of this cold where I like couldn't speak. And like I was getting so frustrated because it asked us to sing like a female song really high. I was like, great, perfect for me. So I sang I Could Have Danced All Night from My Fair Lady. And that, you know, that I could have danced, but like up the octave.
Yeah.
Normally, out the bag can get it. This note could not reach it on this occasion. I was having to record this at like 10 p.m. because I'd been at work all day.
Oh, yeah.
And I was getting so frustrated. Like, I literally, every take was perfect. And it was like, I could have danced. Like, literally, like this one note. And I was like, and then I was like, breathe properly. Like, take a breath. Like, literally, like
Yeah.
thinking of every vocal technique. And I was just getting so annoyed. And then the one take that I was like, I did it so good. My sister like gets home from somewhere, sets off the Ring doorbell. It's like shling in the background.
No.
I was so frustrated. My throat was on fire because I was ill and
Been
just
doing
I've been
it for hours,
screeching
yeah.
this song, and I got so annoyed. I literally punched the wall, which is so unlike me. I'm not very aggressive, and then I dent my wall, which is bad. But I got a recall. Can't believe it. And then I went to the recall. And this was like only like 3 days after that Burn the Floor one, and I was still pretty ill, to be honest. Messed up the audition, sang the wrong lyrics, couldn't really sing my second song very well. Like, it was just a disaster, the whole thing. Anyway, then I was like walking back to Waterloo Station, like messaging you. So I was like, yeah, so how did it go? Yeah, not great. Yeah, like could have gotten a bit better, I forgot the words, and like literally in the background there's all those sound
like
effects.
all those noises.
Oh, well, you know, never mind. On to the next.
On to the next, that's
Yeah.
what we just say. That is actually our number one coping mechanism.
Yeah.
Told no is just saying on to the next.
Yeah.
But do you know,
It really cheers us
on
up,
the subject of the voice notes, this is the other thing that's kind of annoying because all your friends and family know you're at an audition.
Yeah.
Your agent obviously knows you're at an audition. So they're all waiting to see how you got on, and you finish the audition, and then I've got like 5 texts to reply to. I need to update my agent and tell them how it went, and then my mum will call me, and then I need to voice note you, and then I need to voice note another friend, and then you're just like replying to all these people, just saying it like 100 times, like I just got cut, I just got cut, I just got cut.
Because you know that's the other thing as well. Like before you go to these auditions, it's not just you putting yourself. Like you consult all of your friends and family, don't you? Like before you go to it, you're like, right, I've got this, and this is what I'm going to bring to it. Like, what's your opinion on that? They
might even help you practice. Give you song suggestions.
And they have to like sit in the house, like hearing you like screech these songs like upstairs. Like you put in so much time, which is why the rejection I think is quite hard to deal with sometimes, because you have to put in a lot of time and effort.
Especially when you get given material, and don't even get me started on when you get given like 100 pages of material and they see like one to learn all those other songs. It's just super annoying.
Also, every audition is so different as well. Like you turn up and you're like, right, what is the vibe here? Like, who are these people? Like, it's not like, right, this is like another audition that I just go to, like you know what to expect. Like every time you're like, how do you run this? Like how many rounds is there? Like how
what
many
am I doing?
people
Am I dancing today?
Yeah.
Because they always tell you to prepare everything, but then you don't know what you're actually going to get asked for, so you're asking around, aren't you? You're like, what did you have to sing? Or did you just do that song? Did they ask for your own material?
Did they speak to you? Like,
did you talk to them first? Did you go to the piano? Did they tell you this? Did you have to slate your stuff to an iPad? Like, what did you have to do? That's always so...
Did you have to meet Sandy from Royal Caribbean?
Sandy, we love Sandy. It's just
She's
crazy.
a global icon, I think, for Royal Caribbean.
She actually
Audition.
is. She's the audition queen. She's just always there in the background.
But anyway, so let me ask you a question, which we've got written down here. We want to know what is the worst rejection you think you've ever faced from an audition. I could probably tell you mine.
You tell yours first while I think of mine.
Yeah, because I don't know if it is the worst. There's probably worse, but I was really lucky. I've mentioned it before on the podcast. When I did my first proper audition out of college, it was for Carnival Cruise Line, and I was just really lucky and got it, which was really cool. But it meant that I got the job, did the whole contract, and I was like, I must be pretty good, because I just walked into one audition, booked in the cruise, then I came back and I was like, right, here we go, let's try all the auditions, see how it goes and everything. And I think I had one random audition in London. It was for some profit share show. Didn't hear from them. But then my first big audition was to go to Mamma Mia in Germany. So I flew to Germany. I was like, it's quite a big investment. You pay about £300 maybe to get a hotel, flight, do the whole thing. Anyway, I went in. It was a dance call first. The girls did the dance to Crazy Stupid Love by Cheryl Fernandez Vicini at the time. And I think the boys, we did a dance called to Love Runs Out by One Republic. Anyway, the dance was quite commercial, quite boisterous, and there was boys literally sliding in front of the panel.
I think it's the same dance that we just did.
Yeah, probably.
Yes.
Anyway, I was a bit okay, this is how it works, this dance school, but I really prepared myself for it, I knew what it was going to be like. And then I did the audition. I did find it hard to pick some bits up, but then by the time it came to perform it in the smaller groups, I was like, no, I've really got this. I put in so much character, so much effort, and I thought that I literally nailed this dance. Anyway, then also I met other people there. I spoke to so many people about it beforehand. They were like, good luck, it's gonna be great. And then they just didn't read out my name, and also there was some sort of weird discrepancy as well, because there was a person that had a similar name to me. They were called James Kempether, I think. And then they got called out, and it was weird how they did it in the order as well, but basically my name was not called out. And I was destroyed by this because I was like, oh my god, I just thought I was so good. Like, I booked Carnival.
It's like reality check.
Yeah, it was. And also,
you hadn't really like had that rejection.
Yeah, and I think the fact that I was in Germany as well with no one else, I didn't have any friends there. I was just walking around with my suitcase, which I broke in Paris last week. So sad. It's actually, I don't know if you're watching this podcast and not listening, I have cuts like on my hands.
Jesus.
From where the suitcase handle snapped and then it cut me in Paris.
Goodness.
In Paris. Anyway, but that suitcase was like bringing it around the cobbled streets of Hamburg, like, and I was like, I just didn't know what to do with myself. I was like, do I call Danielle? Like, was there a discrepancy in my name? I was like, on the phone to my mum, like she was at work. I was like, I don't know what I've done. Like this. I was just so like really upset by the whole thing. And I was like, this is such a waste of my time. Like, I thought I did such a good job. And like, I would be great in Mamma Mia. And like, I'd love to go and live in Germany. Like, and it just was really upsetting for me. And it was like a reality check, I think, as well. Because I hadn't had that before. And also I just didn't really know how to deal with like something like that. I was like, I can't believe they haven't called. I was like, I thought I did so well. And yeah, obviously maybe I did like a really bad job. I mean, everyone else in there was very good. But yeah, I think that was like a real hard-hitting rejection for me because I just had never experienced it like that before, and I think I just thought I was better.
You've just been a bit lucky and just
I just got really lucky by having that, and I'd already done like a whole job, so I was like, well, now I'm experienced.
I mean, the reality, even if you're like amazing, doesn't matter how good you are, the reality is like 99% of the time you're going to get told no.
And I was still very young as well, because when I got Carnival and did that whole contract, well, I got the job at Carnival when I was 18, and then I did the whole contract as 19, and then that Mamma Mia audition, I was still 19, so I was still quite young as well, and like, I don't know, like I still hadn't been out of college for a whole year, so it was just like a lot, and you get quite pressured, I feel like, when you leave college. Like now we've been out for 5 years, it's not as pressury, I don't feel like. I feel like, well it is, but I feel like when you leave college they're like, have you got a job yet? Oh, this person has, you haven't.
And I think it's a maturity thing as well.
Yeah,
like, you don't,
absolutely. You
haven't settled you're trying to like make your mark, and you just see the certain people from college that go straight into jobs, and you're just more hyped up, aren't you? You're like, I have to do it right now. Whereas now, like 5 years down the line, we're more settled.
Yeah,
we know
but
that
stuff comes when it comes.
Yeah, it comes and goes.
You work hard for.
Yeah. But yeah, I can understand that. That's just like
and
sometimes you can't help it. It's just really emotional. You're like,
yeah.
I know, like. That it's silly for me to be getting upset about it, but sometimes you can't help it. You're like, that has just crushed me. And like, this is the thing, is you've got to just have an acceptance of you can't control it, or you just have to try and release the control. You have to be on it with the elements that you can control, so making sure you show up and know what you're doing and do a good job and look the part and have lots of energy and all of that. You just have to focus on that, and then after you've done that, if you've done a good job, you just have to try and like release it, because you can't control. We don't even know what they're looking for. I don't know who they're comparing me to, or what role I'm being looked at, or what covers and all of that.
They might already have a complete cast of people, and they just want one person just to fill a gap because someone's left to do something else, or someone.
And then they might have people in the cast that said they weren't going to stay on, and then said, actually, no, I am going to stay on. So now that role is not available. Yeah. You just don't know all of those ins and outs.
It's like a jigsaw puzzle I feel like, for casting teams, and it's not always like based on who you are, what your talent. Like, it's just like, oh, I think they'll slot well into this team. They're quite similar to that person. Or like sometimes they literally just want a replacement of the person. Like, say like they had a girl called Shmamelia, and she had like brownish blonde hair like you, small like bright belter, and then they're like, oh yeah, that Amelia, she's exactly like Shmamelia. So like she's like a carbon copy. So like let's just put her in because she looks the same. She's like, that's how we know it in our heads in the role.
Yeah.
Like people are quite like sometimes quite closed-minded to putting someone completely different into that role, and you just might not be that person.
Which, again, you never know, because you just don't know sometimes. You just have to take your best educated guess when you go into an audition room of what are they looking for? Are they looking for me to put a bit of myself into it and like do it with loads of passion and heart and soul and bring my authenticity to it, or do they just want a carbon copy of exactly everyone that they've had so far and just do it exactly as written, don't bring anything else to it? And sometimes it might be one way and the next time it's a different way, so you just don't know. And sometimes it's just a gamble. You just have to take your best guess, give them what you think they want to hear. And like, especially I get frustrated sometimes when it's just like sing your own song, because sometimes I'm just like, I'd rather you just tell me what do you actually want me to sing, because I just have to guess. And even when it says, like, for instance, sing your own pop song, even in like Mamma Mia the other week, when I was in that round, when it was singing and bring your own song, I literally brought my 2 songs up and I was like, there you go, you can choose which one. I don't know. Don't put the decision on me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to.
That's good though.
I do it a lot.
Like,
they're always like, oh, so what are you going to sing? And I'm always like, I've got this or I've got this. And I also had something from the show because I just have Thank You for the Music in my rep. So I was like, I've got that, plus I've got my other, whatever, I think I had a Proud Mary and River Deep or something. Yeah. And I was just like, I've got these ones. You choose, because I don't know what you want. Yeah. So you tell me.
That is better though, because then they're like, oh yeah, actually, like, that is our preferred choice of what you want to sing, rather than them being like, oh, I wish she sang that one instead, but well, it's done now. So
I just don't like making
on to the next.
On to the next.
Plug that podcast.
Yeah. You know. We've had some big celebrities shouting us out.
We actually
unknowingly.
Have. Oh yes, Ashley Banjo.
And Kourtney Kardashian.
Yes.
And I heard it somewhere else as well. I can't remember who else I heard it.
Basically, I think it's on the season. So we're on season 3 now. If we're watching this, if you're listening to this like in 5 years' time, season 3 of the Kardashians has just come out on Disney Plus, Hulu in America, Disney Plus internationally. And on one of the episodes, she says something and then she goes, "But you know, on to the next," like in that voice, and I was like, on to the next.
Fan of the podcast.
Like she loves on to the next with Amelia and James. Like she's just. Like,
you heard it here first. Long time listener.
Yeah, maybe we should do like a brand deal. Like let's hit up Kris Jenner.
Yeah. Let's
like, do you want to do a deal with us? Like maybe with Poosh.
Yeah.
Poosh. Or like Lenny, her new one.
Doesn't she do the little
Lenny
like,
tea?
Is that what those
I think
are?
it
the
is.
little like gummies, the vitamin.
Yeah, I think it's called Lenny. Like she kind of talks about
Let's
it.
do it, guys. Like, you heard it here first. Kourtney Kardashian will be on to the next as a guest.
Yeah, she will. She'll be here. She's coming to Amelia's nan's house to record it. We've already got the security coming in next week, so if any terrorists want to come, like, don't.
Even though she's like 9 months pregnant.
Yeah, no, well, she wants to actually give birth on the podcast.
Yeah.
It's an exclusive.
For
you know, we're going to be on the Kardashians on Disney Plus and Hulu in America.
She said she wants us to sing for her as she's giving birth.
She actually wants like a Travis Barker song. Don't know what he sings. Well, he's a drummer.
Yeah.
He can just drum while we sing. You know. Like, what's a great Kardashian song? I Am Your Mother, You Listen to Me. Let's get Kris Jenner in it.
Yeah, and we love Meghan Trainor.
We do.
She's our other friend of the podcast.
I know, well, she's actually sponsoring this episode,
yeah,
so No, by Meghan Trainor.
But for
when we were actually planning this
podcast, she's not actually sponsoring.
No.
We're just big fans.
Yeah, big fans of the
She gets the free
show.
Publicity.
Yeah, but the actual title of this podcast that we did today, like when we made out our plan for like what we're going to discuss and talk about, the title is No by Meghan Trainor. No by Meghan Trainor.
Yeah. Tell her.
No.
We love Meghan Trainor. But yes, that was a big derailing.
Yeah.
But all to say, I empathise and I understand how you felt in that Romeo one. And I would have to say my worst.
Yeah, because what's yours now? You need to. Have you thought about it?
I don't think I can pin it down to one.
I feel like there's been quite a few where you're like, I'm so close, and you really want to.
And I think those are the ones that I would say are the worst ones for me. When I get so close, and when it's things that I know I can do this job in my sleep. When I know that I'm really right for it, I know I absolutely smashed it in the room. I know that like how I fared up to everybody else was really good. And again, that's not me being like, I'm the best person ever, I'm so good, I'm better than everyone else. It's just, you're just really self-aware as a performer. Like, I will tell you if I've done a really crappy dance audition. But if I've killed it, I know I've killed it. I know that was really good. I know that I'm right for this.
Sorry if you don't want to mention what it was for, but I'll just do it anyway. But I remember when you auditioned for Beetlejuice, do you remember that? And you were really sad because you'd come out and you'd done like the best performance of your life, and you were like, I had done so well, and you were like, I knew that you were perfect, and then you
just got cut.
And it was like really sad.
This is what annoys me as well, is when the people in the audition, like the casting team or the choreographer, will give you like false hope in a way, and maybe that's not them intentionally doing it, but you obviously pick up on signals, and you're probably overanalyzing a lot of things and going, oh well, he just like winked at me, so I think he's on my side, like he wants to hire me, and you notice all those things, and things like, oh, I had to do it again, that's probably a good thing. Or when I did Burn the Floor, and they were like, oh, can you sing Scales? And I sang the Scales really well, and nobody else got asked to sing Scales, and it's like, well, if they want to see more material, it can only be a good thing. If they just tell you to get out,
this was like me with the Book of Mormon, and they were like, oh, I sang my song, and they were like, wow, that was actually, like, they even said, wow, that was actually really good. They're like, do you mind if we hear you do some Scales? And I did them, and they're like, gosh, your voice is really impressive, like you have such amazing range, like thank you so much for coming. And like I left, and like everyone outside was like, wow, your range is so good, like you're literally like meant for this. And I was like, oh my god,
and
yes,
look at you,
am.
that's an audition as well that you're going to, being like,
yeah,
I know I'm right
really
for this
good
job.
at this one, like I could be so good in Book of Mormon. And then it was just like an email to be like, oh, it's not going any further past the first round. And that's like the third time that's happened, and I was like I asked for feedback, I was like, please, like why am I not getting past that point? And they were like, oh, they don't really like keep notes after first rounds. I'm like, yeah, but why am I not getting past that first round? And it is just really frustrating when you know how perfect you are for something, and when the audition goes so well as well.
And it's that thing of sometimes I'm like, why did you just give me all that phone saying that? But then on the other hand, it's nice to know that they think that you're good, because you're like, at least I know I
was doing well.
I'm correct in my assumption that I did a good audition. They told me I did a good audition, so it must be something external. So I'm like, I do appreciate hearing that, but at the same time, it is just a bit like, oh, you're going to tell me I'm good and then cut me anyway. And so that would be my answer, is any of those types of auditions, either where I've made it like really to the end and then just not ended up getting the call at the end for some unknown reason, or like those ones where I know that I'm right for it, I know that I'm really good, I know that I did better than a lot of people in the room, yet I still get cut before I've even had a chance to show them anything else. For instance, I feel this way about when I audition for Six, which I haven't done for a while. Like, I just know I can do it. I know I can do that. You're not even giving me a chance. It's not even like I've got all the way, and then in the end they're like, oh no, it's like, you've never even heard me sing these songs. It's like Alphabet. I haven't even done an audition for Alphabet. I know I can do that, girl. I don't know. So, but again, I do not want this to sound like I'm just being like, I should book these jobs.
No,
but those are the ones
so
that
perfect.
really hurt me. The Beetlejuice as well. That specifically, that audition round was dance. It was, if I'd have choreographed a dance round, an MT jazz round, or an MT jazz dance to that song from Beetlejuice. I think it was, do you hear that sound, that wonderful sound? Which I actually do think I've taught that to my kids before. But if I was coming up with choreo to teach to my kids, I would have pretty much choreographed almost
Something
exactly
like
what they did in that room. It was so me, it was jumps, it was big character, and it was like just like hard, like sharp movements. I'm not very lyrical, and it was just such a bit of me. I was loving life. It was so stagey. Then there was like improv, and you had to run around the room as Beetlejuice when they have all the Beetlejuice like dupes, and all the ensemble was dressed as Beetlejuice, and you had to find a creative way to like run across the floor. And I was going all on the floor, like dragging my leg across, like crazy huge personality. Then they were saying like, we are really not bothered about danceability at this point, at this stage. We're not looking at technique. We are fully just looking at character, ballsiness, like make big choices, be crazy, look ugly with your like physique, and like make ugly faces, and just like be really bold. We just want to see like heaps of personality, and that is all. And I gave them so much personality. Plus, I know I was nailing the choreography, and I was technical with it as well. There was like all these pirouettes in there and jumps. I can jump for days. I was in the air like longer than everyone else. My turns were so clean. I was like, this could not be better. Then I was, when it got down to dancing groups, no one had like really been making that much noise or anything. Then I'm doing the choreo, and I put in a couple of like, hey, wow, like silly noise effects to go with the movements, because I mean some of it was like throwing your hands up, and it was like just exactly where you would do something crazy anyway. There was like maybe a bit where we had to have like a shocked face, and it was like like things like that. And
which
I was
is so you,
going
just so big,
OTT, like really like dramatic and comedic, like crazy. And I think also I think because I was a bit older and more experienced, you kind of lose that shame and embarrassment that like when you're a graduate, you're like, oh, I don't want to like do anything stupid, and don't want the panel to think I'm stupid. You kind of realise that actually that
you just turn
like
up and do
you're more likely to book the job when you make choices and you go all the way. You've got to go so far with it. So I was just going like really OTT, making these noises. People were laughing, clapping. Like people were like were literally like, that was so good. Like you honestly killed that. And I was like, it felt good. And then I had to do it again, another time, back to back after. And then also, can I just say, this was the first dance audition I've done
in a long time.
In years, probably since like pre-COVID. I have not danced in forever, so I was really nervous about this. But then they asked me to do it. I remember you took
like a random jazz class before you went.
Yeah, so the day before I just went to a random jazz class at Pineapple because I was really stressed. I was like, I'm not going to have any technique, I'm not going to be able to pick anything up, I'm not going to be able to do a single pirouette. And then I did a jazz class and I was like, oh, I've still got it. Like, it's fine. Like, I
still got it.
Was it like 20 years of dance training? Like, I'm not just going to suddenly forget everything. Like, it's in your body. If I've done ballet for that long, like, I'm still going to have some kind of technique. I might be a bit rough around the edges. Anyway, then we did it again, I had to do it. And I went even more full out that time. And the choreographer was literally, like, patting me on the back, being like, yes! Like,
That's what you were talking about, though, the false hope.
The false hope, like, he was, like, lolling at me, kind of, like, giving a wink, wink, nudge, nudge, like, that was so funny. And then they read out everyone who's staying, and I just got cut. And I was like...
You're like,
that was just destroyed my soul, because I was like, I went so full out. They were loving. I'm like, and again, if you're not in the industry, it probably does just come across a bit like you're just saying you're amazing. I'm not saying that. But you have to have some sort of like
self-awareness that you are good, because otherwise you wouldn't even have the confidence to even go into these things.
Which again is all part and parcel of it, isn't it? You have to be able to back yourself as a performer, and you have to be constantly critiquing and assessing how you're doing in the room. You're just constantly picking up on those signs. Your brain is just working overtime. So with that in mind, you're very, very aware of the percentage of how good this audition is going. About 70% well. I'm doing pretty good. I'm a little bit stressed. I'm a little bit flustered. I'm not quite on it, or like I've messed the words up, or I've done this. You know. So that's why it hurts me when you're like, I know that was good. They even backed that up. Other dancers in the room were saying I did a great job. The choreographer's like giving you a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And then you just get cut anyway. And I'm like, I did exactly what. But those are the ones that really crush me, and they take me sometimes a while to get over. When it's a show that I really love, obviously if it's your dream show, you're going to care about it more. And
I always feel like when you really, really want it, that's when you don't get it. And when it's like, oh, I'll just,
be casual about it.
Yeah, it's like, you got the job.
It's true. And you probably put more weight onto these shows that you really want, because also the auditions don't happen all the time.
No.
I have literally been waiting for Beetlejuice to come to the UK since it opened on Broadway. I've been obsessed with this show forever.
I saw it on Broadway and it's amazing.
Good for you. Nothing. I've watched it on Slime Tutorial, if you know you know.
I watched it live in New York.
I've been waiting years for this show to come to the UK, and then Norwegian put it on, and I saw these auditions, and they were exactly just like a couple of weeks after I got home from my ship, and I was like, this is perfect. Like, I thought I was going to miss the auditions. I'm actually going to be here for them. I can go. I know I can do this show. I know I can play Lydia. I know I can do it. I didn't get an audition for Lydia. I got an audition for ensemble. Fine, I don't care. I'll do ensemble. I'll cover Lydia. I just want to get in. And I didn't get an audition at first. I was hounding everyone. I was emailing my agent about it every single day. I was emailing Norwegian personally. I was emailing Pearson. I was emailing literally like every single avenue again and again. Like, I was just harassing. I was like, I need to get in the room. And then I got in the room. Finally, and I did so well, and then I got cut for no apparent reason.
That's
like
so
nothing
sad.
in my head that I can justify and be like, yeah, I did that really rubbish.
No, you did
Fair
everything.
enough.
So, like, you couldn't have tried harder.
Could not have done what they asked anymore, but
so you just never know.
And that, I feel like that's similar with Six. Like, that's how I feel sometimes when I go for Six, and I'm like, I've been waiting to be in the right place at the right time, to actually even be in the country when they're holding these auditions, and actually even get invited to go to the audition. Like, even getting seen for stuff is impossible. So when you finally get seen, and then you do a really good job, and then like, everything looks like it's going in your favour, and then you get cut anyway.
It's so sad.
Oh my gosh. So those are the ones that really hurt my soul, and when it's my dream shows.
Yes.
Because I'm very passionate, if you couldn't tell.
Anyway, so before we wrap up the podcast for today, because we've been talking now for an hour, what is our advice for people when they get rejected? It's really dependent on the person, I feel.
Well, you first tell us what is your coping strategy when you get told no? How do you deal with it? Like, what do you do in the room? What is your short-term reaction, like when you're in there and they've read out the list of names for the recall and your name is not read out and you're in the audition room? How do you feel
like
what do you do?
Your face, like inside, you feel like your heart is crushed. Like, it's like
just
like literally like this.
Yeah.
And then you have to stand there like
it's literally the dead smile and you're just like, you have to be polite. So.
Yeah, and then you're like, and then they're like, but thank you so much for coming. And then all the people that have like been asked to stay, and like all the people who've been cut have to be like, oh, thank you so much. And then you have to do the awkward grapple bag, let go. So I think I do that, and then I talk to my friends, I talk to you, I just text my mum or whatever. And then, I don't know, I sort of sit on the train on the way home, and I'm just like, I don't really know. I kind of do get over it quite well. I don't know, I feel like I have to just wait for something else to happen in my life so I can just put it to bed, like, never mind, that opportunity wasn't the opportunity for me. I think it really does depend on the job, because obviously some you can, like, and I really wanted to get a recall for Book of Mormon, and I think just because it did go so well and I didn't, I was a bit like, why? And like, I feel like I come up with so many reasons as to why I'm like, it was this, like, I didn't do that, didn't do this, I feel like I do that a lot.
Overthink it.
Yeah, but I don't know, I just sort of get over it by like...
Distracting yourself?
Distracting myself, yeah, maybe I'll watch like television or be like, go do something with someone, or... I don't know, hopefully I'll have something else on and I can just go and do that instead, or like have something else to work towards, like another audition or like another job or like something else that I can invest my time into to like distract myself. I don't know, what about you?
Similar. I'd say the same vibe when you're there and you, oh my gosh, it's just gut-wrenching, isn't it? I really hate that. I prefer it when you get the rejection after the fact and you're at home and you just get an email and your agent is like, sorry, it's not going to go any further with this.
Yeah.
And you're just like, you can deal with it calmly. But like, when
I'd
you're
rather
there...
get the email as well when I'm doing something. Like, I've had emails before being like, you're rejected, but I'm like out
and
with
about,
friends and you're like, okay, never mind, well. But when you're like at home by yourself, like this is me in the Book of Mormon, it was like, woo, like email comes through. And then it's like, unfortunately, it will be a no. And then you're just like sat in your bed like, wow,
Yeah.
I am worthless.
I'm literally stunned. Can't speak right now.
Like, this is just soul destroying.
Definitely, yeah. And yeah, I don't like it when you get...
Well, that's if they're even
rejection.
polite enough to give you an email, and a lot of the time you don't even hear anything. Although sometimes that's kind of like a bit nice. I don't know, because it's kind of not nice. Like
because
you still holding
keep a
out
bit
hope.
of hope, yeah, and then you're just like, oh, maybe, and then yeah.
But at least it's
sometimes
not
I have to like get my agent to follow
you
up.
are rejected, and you're like,
No. But
like,
at least then you can
soul
just
destroyed.
deal with it, be sad about it, and then move on. When you just still lingering on for months, being like, I never actually heard from that job, but I did really well. Like, are they still casting it? What's going on? I don't like that. But no, I just find it so stressful when you're in the audition and you've just given your heart and soul, like especially if you've just done like crazy dance rounds and you're exhausted and you've been so high energy and you've been so preppy, and if it's been a long audition day and you're just like this all day talking to everyone,
and then you go home and you're like,
and then they're like,
shatters.
then they just read the names out in front of everybody. I feel like your gut just twists, doesn't it, when you're just waiting to hear like if your name got called or not, and I'm like literally trying to do deep breaths and
likewise, if they say your name, like you can't be like, oh my god, but like inside you're like,
all of these ones I've done recently, where thank the Lord, touch wood, I have actually I've done a lot of these rounds and got through them. So they've said my name, majority of the ones I've done recently. And my God, I'm literally just waiting there, like trying to control my breathing, being like, it's okay if they say no, if they don't say your name, that's fine. And I'm like, it's okay. And then you just hear your name, and I'm literally like, oh my God. And you just like, literally want to freak out, but they're still like reading through the list.
You do like an internal one of these, you're like, yes!
Yeah, literally in your head, you're like, yes. But you just have to be frozen like a robot, and I'm like, don't catch eye contact, like I feel bad for the people I've just been friends with that now didn't get the recall.
Yeah, but all the cut people, and then you're on the other side being like, well done.
And then you're like, oh, it's like, no worries, like, see you at the next one.
Yeah,
and
like,
then you're like,
so good to meet you.
Let me start getting ready for this next round. Oh my goodness, but yeah, it's just rough. So, but I do a lot of journaling. I journal before. I'm quite superstitious. And I've always been superstitious. I've always been superstitious with like my exams at school. I used to sleep with all my textbooks under my pillow because I was like, then all of the words are going to seep into my brain. And then I started doing that, and I literally did it for every single exam. So then on GCSEs, if I had a day where I had loads of exams that day, my pillow would be like Princess and the Pea. I would just have like 100 massive science textbooks under my bed, and I'd be like, I just have to do that. And then I have like little good luck charms and things like that. And now, like with auditions, I'm very like, I have to get really good sleep. I journal the night before, and I do all this like positive manifestation, like as if journals, like, because it's really worked for me before. I've written down, I'm going to book this job, and then written down all the details of it, not actually knowing what I'm up for, but literally just like kind of making it up and being like, if this all goes right, I'll do loads of journaling for it. And then, for instance, when I was trying to book Best of Musical Star Nights, I'd be like, I'm sitting on the coach next to this person and we're driving to this venue and then today we're rehearsing for this and I'm going to wear this to rehearsals, and I like wrote it down, and then it actually ended up happening exactly as I'd written it. Like I'd even wear the same clothes that I'd written about and be like, I was like sitting on the coach next to Nick or something. It's just crazy. So I do a lot
Nick,
of like...
if you're listening, send me a text because you're so sexy.
Nick, we love Nick.
He is so hot. I've never even met him, but I just see him in all your pictures.
He's on a ship right now.
I know, well, sail back to England, Lee.
I think he is soon.
So
I want him back. But I do a lot of that. I do a lot of journaling the night before. I do a lot of meditation, and I feel like this is all kinds of everything that I can do to like keep my heart rate down. And like obviously meditating is just very, very good for you in general to cope with anything. And I think it really does help me try and stay calm to deal with the rejection better. Like even before when I'm waiting to go in for an audition, I'll listen every single morning when I'm getting ready for the audition. I listen to this positive affirmation video on YouTube. I listen to the same one I always have since college, and I feel like...
You're so Rachel Berry.
No, literally. I feel like now it actually is so familiar to me. It like triggers my audition brain. Like I'm so used to like hearing that sound and associating it with getting in the mindset to do an audition. Like I'm just very superstitious, so I have all of this stuff going on.
I have to do it again.
So now when I get rejected, I do the same thing. I scurry out. I'm like, don't talk to me. And then sometimes I take a bit of time to myself when I get out of the audition building. I might just take a sec before I start texting my agent and calling my mum and telling everyone what's going on. Sometimes I just take a second to process it and just be like, it's okay. And then I think back to the audition and I'm like, is there anything I could have done better? Like, did I mess that up? Or can I just go home being like, I know that I did everything that I possibly could. Yeah. Like on Monday, I was like, I could not have done that song better. I already did that in a self-tape, and I obviously got a recall from when I did it in the self-tape. I did it just the same, if not better, in the room. So there's nothing I can look back on that and go, oh, I should have learnt that better, or I should have warmed up more, I should have done this. So I just have to keep reminding myself, and it's repetition reminding yourself. I can feel solid in myself that I did everything in my power that I could. And then I'll be okay for a bit, and then, like I said, I'll put a podcast on when I'm walking home, or like I'll speak to my friends, or I'll do something. I will say this. I do use retail therapy a lot. I'm very guilty of retail therapy, and this is definitely a coping strategy of mine. I've been like a shopaholic literally since I was a kid, and I know it is actually genuinely a problem with me. I've been really good with it recently because I'm really skint, because I'm really unemployed. So I actually haven't been shopping very much, but I remember doing Mamma Mia in Hamburg before a couple of years ago, and again got cut from it, and I was like, okay, here's what it is. What are you gonna do? Yeah. I'm gonna go shopping. And also those are annoying because then sometimes you have hours to wait until your flight, so you've just got to hang around with your suitcase. You have nothing else to do. So I just went to the shopping centre. I went into Hollister, got myself a new dress, just got myself a couple of presents, and I'm like, it's okay, you did really well, I'm going to just give you a
Do you know, I feel like I do that, but with like McDonald's actually.
You do it with food.
I do. I love food. Love it so much. And I feel like I sometimes treat myself to a McDonald's if I'm rejected. I'm like...
Comfort food.
Yeah, I mean, it's like awful food, isn't it? But like, it just makes me really happy. Like, I see McDonald's and I'm like...
And do you know what? I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Doing like little things that make you feel just a little bit better.
Like even after we had that terrible, well, yours was fine, but mine was terrible. My audition for Burn the Floor, and we just went for that brunch afterwards, and it just made me feel so much better because I was like, I know I just did like a really bad job. Won't be getting
Let's just let off some steam about it.
Yeah, and it was really nice.
Decompress. And then move on. Doing those, that's nice. Like, especially like that when we've done auditions together, like with friends, and you can just go and go to Spoons or go somewhere and just like come down from it together. Yeah. And then and then when you're with other people like that, like you can both kind of laugh about it and be like, it's fine. Sometimes when you're by yourself, it is difficult. So when you're by yourself, why don't you buy yourself another? What's like a bottle from the high up shelf, Lizzo. That's a big one for me. I treat myself, but then it works the other way because I also treat myself when I book a job. I do it all the time. As soon as I book a job.
Because you're like, well, I'm about to come into some money, so...
Yeah, literally, I'm like, I'm going to earn this back. For example, and I've been really good with this. Firstly, happy Speak Now Taylor's version day for all of the Swifties out there. This is a very big day for me. As you know, I'm on the hunt for my Eras tour tickets, and I'm gonna get them. But I already have been planning my outfit for this tour, and I've been looking at lots of different cowboy boots, and there's a few that I want. They're all over £100, but the ones I really want are just stunning. They're like white, and they got like pastel colours, like metallic. Oh my goodness, it's like purpley, pinky, shimmery, metallic. It's so nice. And I sent them to my friends, and I was like, I need to get these. Not even just for Eras tour, I just wanted them anyway. And I was like, then I can wear them to Taylor Swift. This is going to be perfect. And I was like, when I book one of these jobs, I will get them. Because at that point, I was in the final for 3 weeks. So I was like, I'm going to book one of them for sure. Like, like I've got to. Surely the odds must be that like, at least one of these jobs I'm going to get offered. So I was like, I literally have them in the basket. And I was like, I will just press buy as soon as I get an offer. And then I didn't get any of those jobs, and now I still don't have the cowboy boots, and now I'm sad. See, this is where retail therapy works, because then if I bought the cowboy boots, I can at least be like, I'm happy because I have my cowboy boots. Even though I don't have a job, I have cowboy boots. But the problem is I'm just too broke to justify over £100 on cowboy boots right now. So I will buy myself something smaller. I don't know, get myself a nice coffee from Starbucks or something. But that is legit. I'm not saying it's a healthy coping mechanism. I'm not recommending it to everyone. But treating yourself is nice. It's just giving yourself a bit of love, like balancing it out, because it is really sad, and especially if it's something that you have got really far in, and you've put your heart and soul into it and been auditioning for it for months, and then you get rejected from it. It just really hurts sometimes. So you have to, I'd say what you said. But you know, guys,
you're going to get through it.
Keeping busy is my number one. And I always say, I'm absolutely fine dealing with rejection when I have another audition coming up that I can focus on. Because then you can just leave that one behind. You're like, okay, that doesn't matter. I'm going to book this one. And then I can focus on that. When I struggle...
is when you don't have anything lined up.
When you don't have any more auditions lined up. Because
Me right now.
And
Nothing.
I actually was journaling this morning. Was it this morning or last night? I think it was this morning. And I was like, this is going to sound like really poetic and just like really deep. But when you're in this situation, sometimes it feels like you are like standing on the edge of a cliff, and everything in front of you is pitch black, and you're just like, I can't even see a route. I can't see anything. I don't know what my future is at all. Like, I can't map out anything in front of me.
A cliff and darkness. We've had the mountain, the cake, and the bird. Like.
But then I thought to myself, the exciting part is you can get out a torch and you can shine it in that darkness, and you might see loads of different things, and you're like, which one of these is going to be my path? I don't know. It could be anything. It could be this job in the West End. It could be this dream show. It could be a play. It could be a TV thing. It could be. The possibilities are endless. So that's exciting, but it's just can be very daunting and overwhelming when you're stressful. Like, I have no vision.
And it will just come when it comes, doesn't it?
It comes when it comes, but so.
And everything happens for a reason. I so stand by that.
I do agree, and I will say, I was listening to Cynthia Erivo on a podcast the other day, and obviously she's in our line of work. That's an understatement. she's
like, you know,
queen of MT.
Yeah, you know, she just like turns up to like royal auditions like the rest of us.
She was actually in that Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
Cool with me.
She was. She was like she was walking down the road with her like 5 scarves. Like, oh god, like this is so embarrassing. Shoving her rap folder like into her bag. Like.
Imagine. But anyway, she was saying similar stuff.
She was like that once.
She would have been. Well, maybe not. Actually, I was listening to her. She got agents and jobs before she even.
Okay, well, screw her. We don't care.
But anyway, she was saying some valuable stuff. She was saying, like, for instance, she was lined up to do this job and it'd been going really well and she'd almost booked it, and then in the last minute she didn't end up booking it, but she honestly had planned to be doing that job, so she'd set all that time aside and she was like, I'm going to be shooting this film or whatever it was at this time. It didn't end up happening. And she said she was really crushed by it, but then her agent called her and was like, they're actually looking for Elphaba for the Wicked movie. And she said, like, I didn't even know there was going to be a movie of Wicked. She was like, I had no idea. And I just went, auditioned for it, obviously booked it, and it's like the biggest movie in the world ever. She like besties with Ariana Grande and like working on the Wicked movie. Like, that's so iconic. And she said, she would never have got that if she'd have been offered that other job that she was really hoping for. So, and she was like, it always works out like that. What is not meant for you will just clear. What is meant for you will always find you. And it's all those like cliche sayings, but they are
It's true though. There were so many jobs back in 2019. I auditioned for all these things. I thought I was so good for all of them. Didn't get any of them, and then I got one job, and it was to work at Universal Studios Japan, and it happened for a reason because I booked it and then I was employed for the entire 2 years of COVID. Otherwise, I would have just been stuck here like everyone else.
Yeah.
Like unemployed.
There's been other
things
ones
happen.
like that for me where like I got rejected from. Well, I got to the books for like Grease and Hairspray, and then they were like, oh, we ended up hiring a rehire, and I was like, oh man. And then
swiping,
oh man. And then the next day I just randomly out of nowhere I got offered that Norwegian job, and I was like, oh great, and that was my first cruise job and it was amazing, and I probably wouldn't have been doing what I might not have got hired by Celebrity if I hadn't have got my Norwegian job, which means I wouldn't have had that time to create my own show and go and work as a guest entertainer, which has got me this job, it's got led. So, and this was another thing that they said on that podcast, which is a Steve Jobs quote, which I thought was really clever. And it was like, you can't connect the dots moving forward. You can't do that.
No.
You can only connect them
moving backwards.
It's just like after you've gone through it, you can see where the path was and what led you to certain things. But you can't do that, like I said, when you're at the edge of that cliff and you can't see anything. I can look back and I can see the road that I went up.
You never know what is going to happen. You never know what is ahead.
And all of these are like cliche sayings, but they really are true. And just reminding myself of things like that, listening to like those kind of like self-help like podcasts and knowing that like I'm not the only one experiencing this, and understanding and trusting that there's like a higher path, that like we can't always understand why things happen the way that they do, but they do. I'm going to say one more example.
Okay.
This was actually on the same podcast but a different episode, and he was saying like superheroes, right? They're superheroes, but they don't just get to go and be a superhero and get all of the like acclaim and fame of being a superhero without having to have all these huge fights and almost dying and getting broken down to then defeat all those situations, and that's what makes them a superhero. And he was like, it is the same thing in life, like when you're going through times when you're getting rejected, and so because sometimes it's a lot, it's like rejection, and what other industry do you literally just get told this so much, and a lot of it can be like, am I too fat, am I rubbish, am I this, am I that, but it's like all of those challenges and rejections are what's building you up in order for you to like overcome them and eventually like come on and become successful and do the jobs you're meant to do. And I thought that was interesting as well, because it's like true, I've never watched like a Spider-Man movie where it's just easy and he just like goes along and there's no villains and stuff.
People really relate to them
because they have to like
depiction of like actual
they have
lives.
To use their grit and their strength, and we are superheroes too. We have to use our perseverance. And honestly, there's just no easy answer. I mean, it's just, and I think there's a lot of things in this industry that are quite problematic that we have to deal with, that no other industry has to deal with. This level of like competition for a job, like literally going for one job position with 1,000 other people, and half of it being based on how tall you are, how thin you are, how like your singing or your hair color or your, oh my goodness, it's just like really quite rough, and it can be quite soul destroying, and you just have to do as many little things, like we said. Stay distracted is really good. I love when I've got something else to focus on. Right now I don't, and it's difficult. You just have times when you're like really sad, you get stressed because you're like, I just don't, I need to work. I hate not working. I love what I do. I hate when I'm in between jobs, but
it's part of the job,
part of the journey. And you know, I don't want to also be accepting jobs that I don't like, that don't fulfill me. I want to keep moving forward and doing jobs, but then you have to go out of your comfort zone to do that. Otherwise, like, you could just keep working at Chessington, I could just keep going back and doing the same cruises that I've done,
but then you won't feel fulfilled.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just a tough old, and I would say as well, you said this isn't so, like, you don't struggle with this as much, but I feel like I struggle with things like after the fact. I'll be like a few weeks down the line and then be like, do you know what, I'm just still really upset
about that situation,
that I did not get that audition. Like, that's really upset me right now.
Yeah,
but
it takes time because you're always just consciously thinking about it.
You know what they say, you've got to feel it to heal it.
Yeah, that
is what I'm doing right now. I will just acknowledge the emotions when they come up and be like, sometimes I'll be like, I'm very angry about this one, and this is why I love journaling, because I just let myself get it all out my system. I'm so angry that they did this, no, stupid audition, yeah. And then the next day I might be like, I'm really upset because I really wanted to do this show, and then the next day I might be like, I'm really chill about it, but like, whatever. Do you know, like, I just journal about it, let myself feel that way for a little bit, and then just try and focus. And that's why we always say, on to the next.
On to the next. Well,
look ahead.
I think for all of you out there listening, if you're facing rejection, we hope that this podcast has helped.
You're not
you in some
alone.
way.
We all go through it, and it's not just
Absolutely.
us. Every single performer, even Cynthia Erivo. Just imagine her running down the street, coming out of Pineapple after doing Royal Caribbean and being cut first round, and her sheet music's falling out of her
Literally, that's
and her dance shoes are falling out of her bag, and she's dishevelled, and she's like, I've got another round of me getting cut first round for Beetlejuice.
Well, I feel like that is a good way to, you know,
to end
it, and to say, on to the next.
On to the next.
On to the next.
Say it with us, everybody.
On to the next. Oh, that was so good.